If you went camping with a buddy and woke up with a condom in your ass, would you tell anybody?
How did it get there, though?
Hey, that's you guys. You guys are the ones that woke up with it in your butt.
I'd tell my homies. I don't care. If it was non-consensual, I'd tell the homies so that they don't end up going to sleep and find a condom in their ass and they wake up.
Did you buy me a drink first? Like, rape.
Welcome back to 7 Days Makes 1 Week. This week we got myself, Dan, we got Nico, and we got John, and of course, as always, producer Zach behind the camera. And this week we're gonna talk about some current events and discuss some scenarios that Mr. Zach is gonna bring upon us, I guess.
Yeah, some fun facts and shit.
Fun facts, hypotheticals. Nice.
I want to hear about school though.
I'll tell you about school if you guys want to hear about it.
Yes, sir.
It's nothing crazy. It's consists of waking up, be there for 7, and then we do shop until about 10:20, and then you got to clean up. And shop consists of welding fucking plates together, cutting fucking shit on with cutting steel with like an oxyacetylene torch and becoming proficient with that. And yeah, actually on Friday we had like a progress test, so we had to do 6 welds and a cut in fucking like 3 hours, which I thought was I had to be pretty proficient at it because I'm worried about the cut project, because you got to cut like a little piece of steel like this, and then so you got to cut a little cope is what it's called. And then you got to cut a fucking I-beam chunk out of the middle. Then on the one end, you got to cut like a fucking bevel on it. So it's all freehand for the most part. And I was all worried about it and shit, because you got to get this little I-beam piece to slide through it. If it doesn't slide through, then it's not good. So I'm like sitting there like fucking put the piece in, doesn't go in. It's like, okay, mark it out again. Keep cutting. And yeah, apparently one kid had him all done by like fucking 9 o'clock or some shit. So
how were they? Were they any good though?
See, and that's the thing, is I don't know if they were.
Welding is an art.
Yes, and I was just about to say, no, lighter. Oh.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, sorry. I didn't realize these things weren't just on. Anyway, I just asked you. I was like, so like how. If you can do things a few different ways. You can do it fast and bad, or you can do it quickly and well.
Exactly.
Or you can kind of find a middle point. So what's your style?
My style, okay, so what I did first was, the way I look at it is, you got to fit everything up together as well. So you have to, in my opinion, this is the best way to do it. Fit everything all up and then just weld everything. So you go grab all your pieces of plate, you put them all together, put everything all together. Once I was done, I went and grabbed my piece to cut. Then I went to my cut project because I knew that was going to take me the longest. So I cut it all out, and then I had like 2 hours to weld everything. So I finished everything in about an hour and a half. But when I went, to test your weld, they stick it in a machine that bends it. So
stress test.
Exactly.
I like
so
that.
it's like this, okay?
Oh shit, you have the folding photo. I haven't actually seen one of these.
It's not bad. I got it the other day. It's pretty sick. Yeah, it's pretty sick.
I haven't seen one before, and you know me, I'm a techie, so
yeah, it's pretty sweet. They have another one too that folds like this, but it's like fucking
the Z fold or whatever.
$2,800 or some shit.
Mine
Yeah,
was like
man.
1800. It doesn't fold, so
Yeah.
I got ripped off, I guess.
When the lady said, oh, the other one's like, yeah, $2,800. I was literally speechless. I was like, people actually fucking pay for that shit, $2,800. It's like, yo, you can like put a down payment on a car or some
That's
shit.
more
with
than
that.
I paid for my car.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyways, in the stress test, you have your one side where you put your cap on, where you flush out your piece of metal, and then on the back side you have your root that you put in. So they stick it in the bender and it goes like this. And either you hear ping,
Which is
no,
bad? Or
ping
that
is good,
Oh.
or the other one is like, and I'm like, I was like super stoked because I was like, yo, like I got a sick root in there. I was having trouble with that one, and then I look at the guy and I for some reason I didn't hear a ping, but I was like, oh man, I think that sounds good. And he kind of looks at me, pulls out the piece of plate and it's fucking broken right in half, and I'm just like, oh man. So I was kind of cheesed, but then my other one bent pretty good, but I had trouble on that one too, just because my machine was acting all fucked up. It's like, fuck. So you're welding, it's just like, and all of a sudden it's like, so what happens is, you got like a gun with a trigger on it, and then you press the trigger, and the wire comes feeding out, and as it touches the metal, it like pinches off and drops little droplets of metal. But I don't know what was going on, but it was just like nee, 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 and then it was just like do, 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 do. So I just like, instead of stopping, because I don't really like stopping, I'm just like kept fucking going, kept going. I opened up my lid, it looked like a bag of shit. But that's the thing, man. Welding, it doesn't matter what it looks like, as long as it fucking holds. That's all that matters. It can look the ugliest fucking shit on the planet, but as long as it holds and it passes the bend test, you're fucking good.
So was there a lot of splatter then, or?
Not really. So with that type of welding, you don't really get too much spatter unless like you're running too hot.
Okay.
So if you run, the hotter you run, the more like volts coming through it, and it's just like.
Have you ever started like a big fire?
I have not. No, I mean not.
I like fire.
I've started fire in work. Like there'd be guys that are welding and shit. One of my buddies, he's one of my good buddies. He'll be like welding. I'll go grab a piece of cardboard and like fucking cardboard like this big. Just like light it on fire and then put it right underneath of him. And then like obviously safety hazard, but our shop is old school. And then he'd be like, man, it's getting fucking hot. And it's just like big flame like this high, and he's standing like 2 feet away from it and shit. And then like, yeah, that's the only type of fire I've really started. Never started a fire from welding.
Okay.
I've almost been on fire, like melted myself and shit.
Almost fire though?
Almost.
Oh, okay.
Like fucking, I have hoodies that are like tattered with fucking holes. A chunk of slag will come flying off from across the shop, and it'll like land there, and then all of a sudden it's just like seeps right through your. Well, like we wear hoodies and shit. I wear a hoodie. You're not supposed to, because it's like nylon or fucking.
Oh yeah, because it'll melt onto your skin.
Exactly.
Like, when I worked on site, they only let you wear natural fibers, because if there was like a flash explosion or something, it would like melt to your skin. So we had to wear like Nomex coveralls, like the fire retardant Nomex coveralls.
Yes.
I still have mine. They're sick. I love them. Even though like I work in an office in my house, so I don't really need them. But I still
You
have
got them for
like,
just in case,
yeah,
man.
Yeah,
just in
for
case.
like when I'm like changing my tires, or like
Yeah.
if I'm like rolling around on the garage floor or something. But they're useful for that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you're supposed to wear like fucking cotton and like leather.
Yeah.
We have to wear a leather jacket or whatever when we're in there. And like I got like a shirt, a hoodie, a leather jacket on. And then like on Friday, man, I was like running around fucking welding, doing a bunch of shit. And I'm just standing there. I'm like, fuck, I'm so hot. Like fucking got like 30 guys in there welding, doing the exact same thing, running torches and shit. And it's like, fuck, man. It'd be sick if there was a little bit of air conditioning in here, but there ain't shit. So
Yeah. So is this at Nate?
yeah, Nate's South Campus.
Right.
Yeah.
I had a buddy that did the similar program at SAIT, and he's like loving it. Like I think he's done now.
Yeah.
But like he went through the same thing, and he just like,
Yeah.
he said school was like fun, but like going out and actually doing it, of course, is like where you really figure out what you're doing.
Yeah,
But it's
exactly.
good to get that basic.
For
like
sure.
The basic start for
Yeah,
it.
like I know how to weld with a certain type, like stick welding. I know how to weld pretty decent. I'm not a master by any means, but like this MIG welding is what it's called, or gas metal arc welding is the actual proper term. I've never really welded with it before, and it's just like fucking. It's kind of lame, man. You're just shooting a little fucking chunk of metal onto this thing, and it's just like there is skill that is involved with it, but like. That's not what I want to, like, obviously, in the later years, I'm going to learn what I want to learn, so I got to get through this to get to what I want to learn.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's
Stepping stones.
stepping stones,
Yep.
exactly. So, and then now on Monday, I have a test, a 2-part test, 30 questions. Tuesday, I got a math test, 15 questions.
What kind of math are they getting you to do? Like just equations for angles and stuff?
Nah, like, so it's like decimals, fractions, and so our first test will be on decimals and fractions, and it's like convert fucking 0.0928 to feet, inches, and a fraction. So then you got to know the process of how to do that, or like what is the lowest fraction of fucking this, put these fractions in order. It's I don't want to say it's fairly easy, but
It's practical, and like that's what I found. Like I've done university and college level maths, and what I found the difference was in college level, and college in general, was they wanted you to succeed, and they wanted to use this. This is your networking opportunity. This is where you get to know your instructors. Like I still talk to my old instructors from SAIT. I still like have friends and stuff like that I still chat with, and I even got my my roles 100% through networking at school.
Yeah.
And just be good, be nice, and like make lots of friends and have fun and use that time wisely, because it's not just what you're learning, it's all that other stuff too is super important.
Yeah.
If there's a welding competition or something, go.
Yeah.
I've done case competitions. Like I used to do like business course case analysis and that sort of thing.
yeah,
And
like
we would
case like skid steers and shit.
no case studies, like we would be given, like, say for example, it was like a Harvard business case review, and we would have to, what they would do is they locked us in a hotel room without internet for about 3 hours with myself and 2 other people. They would give us basically a story and then say, here's a business story, what would you do? And then we would have to present in front of like a panel of judges and things, create a slide deck and everything, and then present our business analysis and give them kind of next steps and sort of ways that we see that we can fix their problem for them. So basically like
Okay.
a consultant kind of thing.
Okay.
And it was freaking so much fun. I had so much
Yeah,
fun doing
man.
it. It was intense, but it
sure.
was super fun. But like putting yourself out there at school is everything.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I agree. There's a lot of cool people in there that I've met so far. Like the one kid, he's fucking 18 years old, and I didn't know he was 18. I asked him the other day, I was like, how old are you, man? He's like, man, I'm 18. I'm like, holy fuck, you're only 18? He's like, yeah, man. But he's the one who's been helping with my math. Because like
he's done it recently at high
and
school.
and he was like, man, he showed me what the math that he was doing. I think he was in like math 30, or like he was in like the
pure
high
math 30.
the
Yeah,
high
I've
math.
done
And then he was like doing like fucking trigonometry and algebra and all this fucking shit. And it's like, so these little these fractions, dividing fractions and finding fucking the lowest terms is like a piece of piss for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, yeah, he's super cool young kid. So it's good to know, like you said, it's good to network and know some people and shit in there.
Make
so
some friends.
make some friends, yeah.
A lot of the companies know the instructors at these facilities. So, like, if you stand out as a positive influence, the instructor, if they call the instructor and they're like, hey, who's the next up-and-coming guy that I should be looking at?
Yeah.
You want to be the guy they recommend, right?
Yeah, for
Every
sure.
So,
time.
Yeah.
like you said, networking is key.
It is.
Yeah.
It'll get you everywhere.
For
and
sure.
and it's just like rewarding too. Like going back as an alumni later on, and like when you're in industry later on, you kind of like, I've gone back and I've done like, speaking to kids that were in the program after me and that sort of thing, and telling them about my career and how SAIT got me there or whatever. And what's funny is like Zach knows, like I flew out to Guelph and did 4 years of university for my Bachelor of Commerce, and I got way more out of my 2 years at SAIT, which I did 4 years later because I hated my job. I hated everything. I was like basically an accountant.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm a marketer. Why am I doing accounting? And going back and just retraining. Like I was like, I'm 26. Like, should I be going back to school? Like I was like, but if not now, when?
Yeah,
So just do
exactly,
it.
yeah.
And it's just such a rewarding thing to do. And like I say, I got more out of those 2 years in college just from the fact of how it's taught. Because in university, what they did to us in first year economics, they gave us 130 questions, 1 hour, and it was all long division and no calculators, go. And I was like, this isn't even economics. Where's the economic theory? And basically it was a way to weed out half of the course. So we started with 300 kids. By the end, we finished with a little over 100 after the first, 4 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And they used that first year economics course as a stress test to just, and I barely passed. I'd
I'd be one of those guys out.
Because in Alberta, we were given, those TI graphing calculators, right? And that's how we used to do all that math.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they're like, oh, go back to grade 4 and do long division, except here's like 8 decimal points. And
Damn.
it was the most like I still have like PTSD thinking about it. But then when I went back to college and did economics again, I was like, oh, this is what it actually is meant to be done. And I would, I helped everybody else in my class because they were all a lot younger than me and they'd never been through business courses and things. So I was able to kind of help them all out. And at the end of that, when I graduated, I got like I won lots of like awards and things from my, like, I won like a peer award and like other things like that. Some of them included cash, right? So that's the other thing. Make sure you're applying for scholarships. You will get them. Apply, but you won't get them unless you apply.
That's
do that.
That's exactly what the instructor said. The instructor's like, man, we have so many like scholarships and grants and like awards that go out, but like nobody ever claims them.
I got like 15 grand when I was at SAIT.
Yeah, man.
15 grand.
Yeah,
like
dude.
That paid
He
for
said,
my
like,
semester. Free money.
He said that nobody ever claims them because nobody ever signs up for them. They always forget about signing up for them. So like, you could be the only one who applied for it, and you're just going to get it because you're the only one who applied. Whether you're good or not, you applied.
Even if you don't fit the criteria 100%.
Exactly,
because if nobody else applies.
Yeah,
man.
man.
Give it to someone who's going to use it for education and let it sit there.
They want it to go to somebody, and that's what that money's there for. And like, that's how a lot of these bursaries and things are done, right? Like they're sitting in some sort of a fund, an index fund, and basically what they're doing is they're paying out that interest. So it costs them nothing.
Yeah.
It's not like this money is meant to regenerate every single year, essentially. So that's why it's there. It's there to continually help people in perpetuity, and that's what like people do them for, like memorial funds and like all that other stuff. So use the tools that they give you. They are like, go to class every day. Use those tools. Like those were things that I learned after I spent a shitload of money going to university and being an idiot and partying way too much. And then I took school seriously the second time and I got way more out of it. You always get what you put in out of anything, right?
Like you said, like university is much more
theoretical.
Yeah, exactly. It is the theory and understanding the concept behind things, while college and like trade school is for application of these.
And they're both valuable if they're valuable to you.
Exactly. Like I did 2 years towards my Bachelor of Commerce at Grand McEwen, and I left because I was like, what I'm learning here, I can learn myself at home. I'm not getting the real life practical experience that I want to apply all this knowledge. And then when I did my power engineering at NAIT, like you said, way more, like, I felt way better just because I felt like everything I was learning was applicable to what I will be doing in the future, and the networking was a lot better. Like in university, everyone was just stressing. Either people were partying and not giving a fuck, or they were stressing beyond belief to get their assignments done, to study for their exams.
Both of those people. Yeah, exactly. Right? Because I was partying too much.
Well, that's the thing, though. It's like either people are like not interested at all in school at the moment because they want to blow off steam, or they're hating school because they're like on the brink of like failing. And
that's it. And like the culture too, like I know a few people that obviously they went to U of A or wherever, and the culture in Southern Ontario, it's a lot like America. Like they're basically like university towns essentially, so everyone they all live in res, and you kind of have this like community. And we did like homecoming, which is like, if you've ever seen on the news like at Queens or something, and there's just like these wall of people that are just out partying on the streets, and it's just pure chaos, pandemonium. And it was just awesome. Have I outgrown this? Yes, but like these are just things that you don't see outside of that microcosm of just like Windsor, all the way from about Windsor to Queens. That there's this whole like all those different universities and things, and that was why I was like, it. What you're learning is important for sure, but like the environment in which you're learning is just as important. And like I went to Guelph, and it was just such a incredible community. Like even though I didn't really like the coursework, I liked the school, and we had the best food because it's the Ontario Agriculture College, so all the food was locally sourced. I actually gained like a fair bit of weight, like everyone did. Like even Zach could say, he's like, I was getting a little pudgy by the end. I was eating good. So
well, yeah, that experience and the community is what builds you as a person, right? That's how you develop your character. So if you're not surrounded by things that help you develop, then you're falling behind because everyone else is continuing to develop. So
that's right.
But it's cool that they have that kind of American university / college culture out there.
Yeah,
because it doesn't exist out here.
It doesn't, and it's not fratty. Like there are frats and stuff, but they're not as important as they are in the States. So we didn't have that kind of like all that you know, the Greek thing, but like there was like a veterinarian frat, because we also had like the veterinarian school, and it was like an agriculture school kind of thing. Well, like my most recent career actually was because of my roommate from Guelph. He lives in Calgary as well, and he put me forward for this new job basically, and I got it because of a network that I had built 10 plus years ago. And he's just a buddy of mine that I've, you know, we went through a lot together, and he's just like, you know what, I don't work here anymore, but like, you know what, I know a guy. So like that was it. I was ready for a change, and that you never know when these things will come back to you, even years and years later.
It's like that old saying, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know.
100%.
Right?
So just be nice.
Pretty much, yeah.
Be useful and be nice. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, otherwise school's good. Can't complain. I think I'm ready for my tests.
Get her done.
Hopefully this time you hear the ping and not the.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. Get the
That's
right
right.
sound.
I can figure out the welding. I just got to make sure all the theory exams are good. I should be okay. I did a little bit of studying over the weekend, and I think I got her down. So we'll see.
Solid.
On Monday.
Good luck. How many more semesters do you have?
It would be 2 more after this.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So what I want to do is finish this. So I got another month and a half. Finish this. Go to work for a couple 3 months. Make some money, and then go back to school for another 2 months. Go back to work. Go back to school, and then once I go back to school the 3rd time, I'm done. So then hopefully I can make the big bucks after that.
So do you get, is it like a red seal or something?
Yeah, so after you become so after your 3rd year, you become a journeyman, and then you have to do, I think, a Red Seal test, which is like, I'm assuming it's like 100 questions or whatever. And then the thing after that is you want to become not everybody wants to become one, but a B-pressure welder. So that means you have the ticket that certifies you to weld on pressure piping that's going into fucking service. So right now where I work, all the welders that work there that weld on the pipe are pressure pipe certified, and they have their own trucks, they got their own welders, they make like fucking $92 an hour or whatever. You know what I mean? So like that's the goal. Like these guys could, if they wanted to, they could go onto the pipeline and make like $150 an hour with like $200 sub, and like
Would you ever do like what's it called, like dive welding?
I was just gonna ask if you've ever thought about or know anybody.
Don't they make like $400 an hour or something?
I know somebody
yeah,
that does
underwater
that.
welding. Yeah, so like I don't actually know anybody who's ever done that.
Guess we don't have much water here, but
Well, that's the thing. You would go to like fucking
Jakarta.
Yeah,
like
somewhere.
Coop.
Yeah, somewhere like that, or like Saudi Arabia,
Yeah,
or like
totally.
somewhere around there. But like apparently, you can only do that for like 8 years. Yeah, because it's like super bad for you.
So like I heard there's these like pods that the guys live in when they're like working on like, you know, those like those what are they, like offshore
oil rig? Yeah.
And they like live in these pods underwater for like a few months at a time, because going up and down to those like depths that they're working at is like incredibly dangerous and taxing on the body. So they like live in these weird pods underwater.
I could see
And
that.
they just make crazy money living in
Yeah.
these crazy pods, but they're like, I'm going nuts down here. Like it is so intense.
Yeah, like
And you have to be friends with those 4 guys that you're living
Yeah.
with, or it's not going to be fun for anyone.
yeah, and I'm pretty sure like you can only actually like go underwater and weld for like 20 minutes or something, and then you got to go back up, hang out for like an hour, go back down and weld for 20 minutes. So like it's not very like. You're not welding all day constantly. Like the guys that I work with are like for like fucking 10 hours, man, grinding and fucking just constantly working.
Well, it depends what the water environment is that you're in, right? Like, if you're in still water, if you're in water that has a current, if you're in really murky water or really clear water,
Yeah.
is it cold? Is it like warmer? Like that all affects what you're doing, right? Like my buddy I have 2 buddies, one that does underwater welding and one that just does like underwater like installation and checking of things. And man, those guys work blind half the time or more. Like
Really?
where they go and it's so murky or it's so dark because they're so deep.
Yeah.
That like you can only like your flashlight only gives you whatever light you have only gives
Yeah.
you so much visibility, right? Like, and it's you work off of feel. You learn to just work off of how things are supposed to feel, and yeah, I don't know. Those guys are crazy, and they work all over, right? Like they live somewhere and then they get called out for a couple of weeks to go work on this project here or there. But you'd be surprised, even locally, like those guys are required here too. Like all those factories and the pipeline and like the upgraders and all the facilities here, they have pipes that go run into the river, right?
Okay,
so like that all has to be checked. They have to clean the screens. They have to maintain the screens, make sure everything's good. So like this guy's diving in the river here
Really?
to install stuff and like maintain stuff and replace stuff. So you'd be surprised. And like all the tailings ponds and stuff like that, those all have like pipes that feed those. Yeah, I know.
You
right?
couldn't pay me enough.
No,
Honestly.
man,
Money isn't worth it, man. I don't care.
Nah, like I like being on a boat. I don't like
No,
being
I'm not
underwater for like if I can't see far enough to see what's coming at me. No, I'm
Something
good.
like grabs you and you're like, what?
Oh,
That was
man.
me.
There's so much unexplored ocean and stuff like that.
I don't know what's
It's
down
sketchy.
there.
Yeah, you don't. Well, I mean, what else? Yeah, I recently saw a clip. They had scientists that tagged a great white shark, and they were tracking it for a couple of months, and then all of a sudden, it started diving at a crazy high speed off some cliff, some canyon, and deep into some crevasse under the earth, in the ocean somewhere, and it got eaten. So like it dove really really deep, and all of a sudden it got eaten. And this is like a 14-foot great white shark, and it was just gone. Like they found the tracker later because it like floats. It like went ashore somewhere. But it definitely got eaten because it has a temperature sensor, so they could tell it got colder and colder and colder, and all of a sudden it got hot, which means it went inside something's stomach.
Damn.
So there's some wild shit down
What
there.
the fuck
that we
killed
don't
a
know about.
14-foot shark?
In the
Ate
Marianas
the whole
Trench,
thing, right?
man.
Like it's not like you're not the things down there aren't just taking a bite out of you and then you're done. Like they're eating you like in one go pretty much. So.
Yeah, that's fucked.
Yep. There's giant squid down there, they say. There's giant fish that they haven't really discovered yet. Rumors of a megalodon. No, I'm just joking. That's
Maybe,
not real.
you
But
never
they
know.
used to exist, a megalodon.
Well, I know there's a beast right here.
Yeah, she can't swim, as she evidenced to me
She
the other
snuggled
day.
with me last night. She was not nice.
She tried to jump in the bathtub or over the bathtub, but it was full the other day and like fell half in and then jumped out, looked at me, freaked out, started ripping laps around the house. And I'm like, you gotta calm down. You're getting water everywhere.
Life with cats is never boring. Yeah.
Or like how those fish down there like are bioluminescent and just like they create their own light.
Yeah, the one that's got
wild.
that fucking light on its head. Yeah, man. It's
Looks like a Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I was now that we're talking about that, I was talking with somebody about like how deep you can actually go in a submarine. And it's only like 3,000 meters or something like that.
Only?
Yeah, dude.
No, they're probably 3 kilometers
That's
underwater.
fuck all though. But the like Marianas Trench deepest point is like fucking way more than
It's
that.
like 11
like
or
crush
14
stuff.
kilometers or something like that.
Yeah,
down.
14
for
kilometers.
sure. But like,
I mean, yes, 3 kilometers is
Pressure
far.
is so immense. It's exponential as you go. I saw this guy drop a GoPro that was in a like a waterproof enclosure and an iPhone 13 or whatever it was into Lake Tahoe, which is, I don't know exactly how deep it is, but it is incredibly deep, way deeper. I didn't know Lake Tahoe was super deep. And so he had them both recording as they went down, 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 down. And the GoPro just cracked. And like,
Really?
yeah, it was cool. And like the iPhone came back up and unfortunately, I think it did crack and everything, but like the what cracked were the lenses on the camera, not the screen. And what happened was water got forced into it, and from the pressure, the water got forced into those like tiny spaces in it because they are somewhat waterproof.
Yeah.
Not waterproof to that depth, and he knew
Yeah.
it. He was doing like way beyond what it was expected to. And the reason I found this was my fiance lost her iPhone 13 in the Elbow River. We were like rafting or whatever, and they were having a few drinks. And anyway, she lost her fanny pack, and her phone went missing in the river. And we were tracking it, and I didn't know that cell service doesn't work through water. So fun fact.
Okay.
So Find My iPhone didn't work, except what was happening was the river's really, it's like a lazy river, the Elbow River in Calgary. It's awesome. It's so shallow. Anyway, so basically what happened was it was in a fanny pack, and it was basically like rolling down the river essentially. And I get a call later on the next day from these girls because I was able to set like the call this number if you find this phone kind of thing.
Yeah.
And these girls called me, and she's like, I have your phone, like come and get it basically. And I was like, hey, thank you, that's really nice, because you don't want to replace like an $1,100 phone. But also the phone survived an entire day underwater, and it is perfect.
Really?
Perfect. Like I'm like, chef's kiss. That is like what, like she doesn't deserve to have it right now. You know.
That's the crazy part. Like, we've been doing that for almost like 100 years now. Like, proficiently making stuff waterproof. They
Yeah.
can go to like crazy depths. Like watches and stuff like that. Like divers watches from like 80 years ago can go pretty damn fucking deep, and they work.
Deeper than you,
Submarines in
probably.
World War II were able to go pretty damn deep
Yeah.
and like open up hatches to shoot torpedoes out, and somehow those things survive. Like, how the fuck, how do we do that? How does humanity just make crazy shit like that and just survive? Like,
I would assume, like, I personally thought that they would have figured out some way to get even deeper now, but it seems like we're like stagnant at that point. We're like
you said, the pressure just gets deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
But
My
that should make
cousin's
you
a naval
fear those
engineer,
creatures
so
down
he's
there.
all about
for
it.
sure.
Those creatures down there can withstand that pressure
Yeah.
all the time.
Their
So you're
bodies are like jelly.
how?
What at the bottom there, what happens is they're not like exoskeleton or whatever. Like crabs and things, they can survive because of the like their shell, right? But the other ones, they become like jelly down there. Like they basically are like kind of like jellyfish almost, but they're like
pressure doesn't
fish
affect
fish.
their body.
Yeah, because they're mostly water. Like it's just you just adapt to the way that you live in that environment. I mean, we live in Alberta, so not the
we
same,
adapt
but
to minus 40. But
it's
we,
cool, man. Like, you know, so.
Yeah.
What's it say, Zach?
Apparently, a maximum depth for a submarine is normally between 675 to 900 meters.
Okay,
That's
there you
really
go.
But I did find an interesting fact. During a 4-hour exploration of the Mariana Trench, which is the deepest part of the world, the ocean, a retired naval officer piloted his submarine to 10,927 meters.
Jesus.
Damn.
So that's over 10 times the amount that they recommend. Below the sea surface. That was below the sea
That's
surface.
fucking 10 kilometers, almost
Well,
11 kilometers.
Into the Marianas Trench, and it says that the blackness that he experienced, like there's pitch black. There's no way light can reach there ever.
Yeah.
So
That's crazy.
pretty crazy, yeah.
Fucking, what's the point of even going down there? If
I
you
would
can't
never
see?
do that, man.
You can't see.
Well,
anything,
you have
man.
lights, right? You can only stay. You're trying to find what's on the floor, right? You're trying to figure, like, you're trying to hit.
It was probably
the
a
bottom,
research
which is
Yeah.
then you
mission
can
to
see,
put
right? Because you
sensors
can put
and
lights
shit
on
or
the
whatever.
floor. But yeah, if you just shine your light into the ocean, there's nothing there. Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna run out of distance that it can go, and you're not gonna see nothing.
And I feel like at those real deep depths, like the deepest of the deep, everything becomes tiny. So there's things, but the thing is, they love to see that they're like, it's still life. They're microorganisms,
Yeah.
but they're life.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
what's crazy is that there's still life down there, even though it's tiny or whatever it needs to be to adapt to being down there, right?
Because I'm sure the food sources are limited.
Yep.
Because like regular plant, like there's no plants down there because there's no sunlight, so there's no
Yeah.
photosynthesis.
It's just whatever falls
So,
down.
yeah, which is crazy. It's like, wow, where is this stuff coming from? How are they surviving? But yeah,
And on each other.
Yeah, straight up. That's fucked. So, go ahead, Zach.
I was just gonna see if you wanted to get into some weird little hypothetical situations, or if you wanted to touch on Kanye for a couple minutes, or you just want to.
Sure, why not? How much time we got? We got time, eh?
Yeah, we're about 35 minutes in.
Okay, yeah.
We got about.
okay.
We'll go down to 20 or so.
We
Like
can
that.
talk about Kanye West. I didn't really hear about it, so you guys can tell me. I know something that's about the Jews. That's all I know.
and lots of
But-
anti-Semitism.
And, yeah, lots.
Anti-Semitism. So yeah, you guys can fill me in if you want.
Well, he did 3 long form interviews. One with Piers Morgan. The first one that started all was the Drink Champs one, where he started saying he was talking about George Floyd. Because do you know who Candace Owens is?
No.
Well, she came out.
Clandis Owens?
Yeah, she came. She came
What'd
out.
you say?
Clandis Owens.
Which is
The
ironic
KKK.
because she's African American.
Okay.
But she came out with a documentary about Black Lives Matter and how it's a big farce.
Yeah.
And she pointed to George Floyd's situation, how he was died by suffocation by a police officer, but they found fentanyl in his system at the time. So everyone was saying he died because of that, not that. And Kanye went on her side and was like, Black Lives Matter is a joke. He wore the White Lives Matter shirt at a fashion show. And then it just kind of spitballed from here. He went on Piers Morgan and talked about it. And then he went on, do you know who Lex Friedman is?
Yeah.
Yeah, he went on his podcast, and they had a very intense conversation. And basically, he just refuses to apologize. He's been dropped by brands.
I've
Adidas.
heard of that. Yes.
So
Oh, pretty much everybody.
and
Everyone's coming
and it's
off.
spread to the NBA too now because Kyrie Irving's being ostracized from the league because, rightfully so, he did promote a documentary that promoted anti-Semitism and refused to apologize. So now he's not allowed to be around the Brooklyn Nets organization, and they came out with a list of 6 things he has to do before he can start playing again.
Really?
So, yeah, it's just a crazy situation, man.
Well, it's crazy to see how such a small population
Yeah,
on world standards
14.8 million
is able
Jewish
to
people in the
is
world,
able
that's
to
it.
influence the rest of the world so much that if you don't like them, you're gonna get ostracized by the
Yeah.
rest of society, right?
There's only 14 million Jewish people.
14.8 that write down on their birth certificate or whatever that they identify as a Jew, whether that's Orthodox, Ashkenazi, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
14.8 million roughly.
I'm part Ashkenazi.
Are you?
Point-
From your
0.3%.
from your 23andMe?
From my 23andMe, I'm 0.3% Jewish.
That's enough, man. Kanye's coming for you.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
But
Yeah, he's been spewing his
rhetoric.
and
He keeps calling himself a visionary of his generation, upwards of Tesla and
Nothing says you're crazy by calling yourself a visionary. That's like something you can't say for yourself. Like
Somebody else has to say that.
That's
for
yeah,
you, right?
like I come at it from like a brand perspective. Like I understand brands, I understand, you know, sponsorships, like, you know, collaboration deals and things. And he basically has made himself toxic to the business world. Adidas
Yeah.
is a German brand.
Yeah.
Do you know how Adidas didn't weather this very well either? Like I have a deep interest in like public relations and, you know, managing, you know, how a brand is perceived by the public. And it's an incredibly difficult dance. That is one of the most difficult jobs you can do. And Adidas, unfortunately, yeah, okay, they did the right thing in the end, but they waited too long and the damage was done to their brand already too.
Really?
Yeah, they had their own, like, you know, their own communications people that were saying, they're like, you know, as a Jewish person, like, I can't stand behind my company right now because your silence is deafening. And they took too long because, of course, they would have to come up with, you know, all these formulas. They're like, okay, are we going to be more damaged by the PR, or are we going to be more damaged by dropping the sponsorship and all of the fallout from that?
Yeah.
well, I'm sure it takes some time for the legal team to assess everything. They have contracts. You can't just
Sure
drop
does.
somebody because that is a multi-billion-dollar deal.
Yep.
And you know, while it is a multi-billion-dollar company, they don't just have the funds. If something were to happen where they litigated and they had to pay out billions of dollars, you can't just pull out billions of dollars out of your pocket because that's mostly in assets, right?
Yep.
So
It's all about
It's
having the best
difficult.
legal team
Yeah,
and always have those ironclad contracts and make sure that, like, what we have a lot in the industry would be basically these clauses that if that you know, say that person that you're working with on the sponsorship or an activation or something, if their behavior outside of this relationship is damaging to your brand, that you have the ability to drop them. So it's basically like we have to all agree that our corporate values represent what you are presenting out in the public. You can think and say whatever you want. Don't say it in print. Don't
Yeah.
say it publicly.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Like, you know, you can have your horrible opinions or whatever, but never say it in print, you know?
Yeah.
with Kanye West's mental health history, there could, you know,
I miss fun music, Kanye.
yeah, right? Like, also, you know, like,
I miss
college
fun
dropout
music, Kanye.
Yeah, exactly. That's
I don't
the
want
Kanye
any
we all miss.
Semitic shoe, Kanye. I want fun music, Kanye.
But,
Do you know- do you
that
know
whole
what is-
industry just corrupts people, you know? It
Yeah.
gives you completely skewed views of everything, and it gives you skewed views of how much power you have, right? Like, he literally said, I could say anti-Semitic shit and not get dropped by...
He said that on Drink Champs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
you
was
wanna
his first
bet?
interview, right?
And then he
Which
did.
is crazy. But...
He also went on Piers Morgan and said a really highly questionable thing that made me wonder what his sanity level is like. He said, and stick with me for the first part of this because it's a little dicey at the beginning.
I'll hear it all.
But he says the most not ostracized, but the group of people that can't speak out the most without fear of getting shut down are straight white males. And he said he eventually wants to get to that point because that means that you're at the top of the food chain.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild that he said that on live television? Just lets you know where his mind's really at.
Yeah, but because you're at the top of the food chain, it is... You can't complain because everyone's
exactly.
going to instantly see you as just a complainer
But
who has
but
everything.
And he said he wants to be up to that level.
Yeah, but I mean, that's... Well, doesn't everyone want to be that way? Doesn't everyone want to live the first world free kind of life where you can do what you please and make a livable wage and go on vacations and not have to worry about militants coming to raid your village and murder you or whatever, right? Like, that is the ultimate lifestyle. I mean, as an African-American person in America, those guys do fear for their life every single day, whether it's, you know, interactions with police forces or other people who perceive you to be part of a gang or to be in their way, right? Like, there's still lots of people who live a life that is not as free as it should be, right? So like, and like that I have no problem with, but the way he goes about it and the way he thinks he has to tear other people down to get to that level, while we should be all elevating ourselves to that level, right? Like, you don't need to tear anyone else down to get to that spot. We should all be giving each other a helping hand to get up to there, right? Like,
because you get more doesn't mean I have less, because I already
Exactly.
started with more.
Yeah.
Like I personally know that I'm a person that has lived incredible privilege. And so everything that I can do to help others, even maybe I don't even do enough. I don't know. But like if I ever see an opportunity to like, help somebody or like give advice or, just that's what it's all about at the end of the day is like, just try your best to just don't be a douche. Like
Try and be a good person.
it doesn't hurt.
Whatever.
It doesn't hurt to smile and say hello and give advice, right? Like,
Yeah.
those are all things that are free. You don't need to be
free,
rich
yeah,
to do
it's
that,
free,
right?
yeah.
Like,
Anyone
speaking
can
from
do that.
experience is the most like valuable thing you can do, because if the other person doesn't have the same experience and they're not going to have an opportunity to get that same experience, those words are priceless. They cannot get that anywhere else. So
like speak up and bring those people up to the table. Like I'm in the position where I some of the days I'll be like scrolling through Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and what I'm doing is I'm looking for new Canadians to give them winter apparel, because we have so many Ukrainians, we have so many people from for example Afghanistan and other countries that are coming to Canada and they don't know how to dress appropriately for winter. And if they have a little bit of a presence on social media or anything like that, I have the power basically to be like, hey, I know you need some boots, some jackets or something, and I see you like making content, like let's go shopping, spend buy whatever you want, we'll pay for it, do something in our clothes, and just like say, hey, thank you. And that's all we want. Like, we just want to be there to give back. And that's a little bit that I'm proud of helping out, even though obviously it's still helping out the organization. And other
You're getting
things.
something out of
For
it.
sure, but I like it when everybody wins, right? Like, that's
Exactly.
the best way to go about anything, is when everyone wins.
yeah, win-win situations are the best. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a win-lose or a lose-lose.
No.
Win-win should be achievable in every single situation, right? So
Exactly.
that's the key. Looking for that and implementing that will make the world a better place.
Mm-hmm. And even like if how do you access supports and other things like that? Like, some people just don't know how to do the processes and things. They don't know that these things are in place.
Same with the grants and scholarships, right? It's the
That's
fact that
something-
people don't know that they exist
Yeah.
or they don't do the work to actually like make it happen, right? So
And that's the thing, is a lot of people who are at a lower advantage, right? Like personally, like when I was looking for universities and things, my parents flew out with me to Ontario and we went shopping basically, and they're like, which one do you want to go to? Where do you want to go? And like, that's an incredible thing that they did for me, because at that age I didn't know how to do any of that. I didn't know what I wanted
no
to do.
experience in anything like that.
Absolutely not. And I mean, so from that point, like, it wasn't due to my race or anything like that, but that was due to my ignorance and age, my youth, right? Whereas some of these people, it may be due to other circumstances, because they haven't received those opportunities in their lives, because maybe it was because of their their social class or their race or wherever they're coming from, or maybe they're from somewhere they spent their entire youth trying not to get blown up in a war or something.
Yeah.
Right? So it's there, it's just looking out for that when you see it. And yeah, so always just try to be better, I guess, right? And
Yeah.
especially someone like Kanye, like, you have so much money, you could do so much to help, or you used to. You used to have so much money.
100%. But that's the thing; those people are easily influenced, right? And like, because they think they're the shit, if you approach them the correct way, making it seem like the seeds you're planting in their head are ideas that they came up with, it's really easy to manipulate those people. And then because they have the money and because they have the exposure and the outreach, those ideas can travel really fast and like hurt people really quickly.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, like when Kanye was on the Lex Friedman podcast, he just doubled down on everything, and Lex Friedman, being a Jew himself,
Jew, yeah.
was trying to make Kanye really understand from a Jewish perspective why the things he was saying are so hurtful and so dangerous, right? Like, it's not that just that like
What
this is
exactly
insulting
did he
to us.
say? What exactly did he say?
Okay,
Kanye?
do you know
Yes.
how World War II started? Well, no, sorry. Do you know how the attempted eradication of Jewish culture started in Germany for World War
I
II.
might have a good idea, but you can explain it.
Yeah, so like Hitler essentially, like, so the economic situation in most of Europe was pretty dire with like the Great Depression and everything, but in Germany it was especially bad because they had to pay reparations from World War One, right? Like essentially after World War One, since the Germans lost, the people that were fighting took everything from them that was of value to repay themselves for the damage the Germans caused, and then they had to sign an agreement to pay all these countries money to pay for all this evil that they did, right?
Yeah.
That put Germany in a really tough economic position, which caused crazy hyperinflation where you had to cart a wheelbarrow full of money down to the store to buy a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
You know? So all these people really depressed, really poor, really poorly, doing really poorly, right? Like no one has anything, nobody's able to succeed. So you try to find a scapegoat to blame those things on, because you don't want to
Jews.
blame yourself, right? You want
Yeah.
to find something else. So Hitler was talking about how the Jewish culture and the Jews are the reason that we're in this situation. You know, they're money lenders and they create pornography and all this other shit. So like all kinds of crap that like
We're
he
seeing
was
a lot of these similar parallels today, aren't we?
exactly right. So like Hitler was giving the Germans a group of people to hate and blame for all the things that were
Gotcha.
happening, right? And Kanye was essentially doing the same thing. He's like, hey, black people and other people are in the situation that we're in because we're being held down by the Jewish people. The Jewish people control the money. The Jewish people control the media. They control the narrative. Da 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 da. So essentially, he's doing the same thing that Hitler did, blaming a group of people, in this case, the same group of
Gotcha.
people, for all the bad things that are happening, which is really terrible. It's because it's such a small population of the world. It's really easy for the rest of the world to turn on that population and completely eradicate them, right?
Yeah.
So he's doing the same thing. He's blaming them for all the bad things that are happening to him and his people, and that sets up, that sets up the world to hate on that particular kind of people and to try to get rid of them, right? Like,
Gotcha.
it's the same shit. So that's the big problem that he's having. It's not that Jewish people are upset just with Kanye. It's the fact that he has so much power to talk to other
Influence.
people and make them also feel the way he's feeling.
If it was me saying this shit on our podcast,
Then you're
they
just an anti-Semite, you're just
yeah,
a
I'm
racist
just a
or whatever, right? Like,
racist. Yeah.
But when Kanye is doing it, who has all this influence and power, especially over young people, because like a lot of people still do look up at him because he's a fashion icon, he's a music icon, and his influence is what makes this so dangerous.
I guess the difference between now and then is that back then you couldn't really research anything you were told, and that was the fact. Now we have freedom of information and how quick it flows, so people can technically do their research now.
And that's a double-edged sword.
Exactly.
But they
Quality
don't.
of what you're
Exactly,
researching.
exactly. But it all started with Kanye's tweet. He tweeted out one late night that he was going to go DEFCON 3 on all Jews.
What does
Literally
that mean?
tweeted that. And then he got banned from Twitter.
Well, DEFCON is like
That's a heightened state of like alertness.
Yeah,
Like, for a
okay,
military
yeah.
phrase.
That's the Americans have different stages, DEFCON 1 through 5, I think.
Yeah, 5,
And that's
yeah.
their what level, threat level that they're perceiving their country's having, right? So Kanye clearly perceives the Jews as a threat to him and his success in the future, right? And
That's true too, yeah.
yeah, it's just crazy. I don't understand how someone that's powerful doesn't have a proper PR person or have like.
Well, he does, but I feel
somebody
bad for
who
that
can rein him
person
in.
right now.
I feel like at this
Yeah,
point
but,
he
like-
really doesn't give a fuck about what his PR tells him,
No.
and he's just gonna say whatever he wants.
100%, but he's having like it appears to me to be a mental health
Yeah.
episode where he's having a complete breakdown. He's going completely
He's
manic.
manic. He's manic.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
he said on the Piers Morgan thing, he said he doesn't have mental illness. He's just been mentally attacked by people.
He's like, and the thing that makes it so dangerous, where, like you said, you can research your own stuff. Him putting out the narrative that all media and all information is controlled by the Jewish people instantly puts mistrust in. It's the same thing that Trump was using with fake news, right?
Divide and conquer, right?
You're putting mistrust in the information that is available to you, so that then you have to decide: do I listen to what everyone else listens to, or do I listen to what Kanye is doing, right? And at times when things are so uncertain and people have been cooped up for a couple of years now because of COVID and and people are not happy with how controlled their lives are, they look for these outliers, these people who are bringing a different narrative to try to
Yeah.
bring change upon the world,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that's just that can get you in hot water really
So
quickly.
with that being said, who does own the media? Who does own all of this shit?
There's definitely a
Is-
few.
Careful how you word this.
This is what I mean. This is what I mean. That's why I'm saying this. who owns the media? Who owns all this shit?
And media is powerful. Like, I
Is
don't.
he right? Is he wrong?
We got to get Tori on to talk about that part.
You know what I mean?
Tori
So-
thinks it's a big family of elites that own the entire world.
Well, I've always
Yeah.
heard that there's like six either corporations or six something that own all media kind of separately. Like you own 5 of them, I own 5, you own 5, you own 5.
Somewhat. Yeah, well,
you
like
own
Bell
5.
Media is a great example of that. Canada has all these oligopolies. Like, we have basically a food cartel, essentially. Loblaws, Sobeys. We have like 3. Basically, they run all the grocery stores in Canada pretty much, except for the small ones.
So who are those people owned by? Are
They're owned by families. So there's like the
are
Weston
they
family.
white families?
Yeah, the Sobeys in out east, and then there's the Westons, and they're multi-billionaires. There's the Rogers family that owns like telecommunications, the Shaw family that owns Shaw, and he recently passed away. He had the most expensive house in Calgary. It was just on this hill that was just like beautiful. It was right next to downtown and everything like that, and it sold for like $13 million a couple of years ago after he passed away. But yeah, that's the thing is like, there's obviously just so much of it just sort of creeps right up to the very top, and that control within those people, and they can use that power for good or not. And quite often corporate greed will factor in, but media is a different beast altogether from food, right? Food is a necessity, but
Yeah.
media can change things. Media is incredibly powerful. And what the other thing is, a lot of people don't understand how to actually properly analyze data. They think they do, but they don't actually, they can't pull the right conclusions out of said data. So
Or they look at snapshots, they look at data, but they don't compare it to the other data, right?
Right.
It's analytics is crucial. You need to realize what the change is and why it's changing, what variables are changing to make that change happen.
that becomes cherry picking, which a lot of you'll see on like Joe Rogan podcast, for example, was a great example of cherry picking data to basically create a narrative that he wanted to spin based on COVID vaccines or whatever. And that was all. Was he lying? No. Was he cherry picking data to create a false narrative? Yes.
But that's everything.
Right.
Even government agencies
Yeah.
and there's so much data out there, and you can cherry pick the stats that you want
That's
to
right.
make it seem like your narrative is being supported by the data, right? Like, and it's either whether you just take a section of it, or you're looking at a certain time frame, or you're looking at only a certain variable. Like, it's really, really, really easy to manipulate data, like you said, and that's why it's dangerous. You can't listening to anybody is dangerous because they can manipulate you based on whatever, right? Doesn't matter. Even if you ask for evidence, they can manipulate you by cherry picking the data or whatnot. But not listening to people is also dangerous because then you're just
Being
going
ignorant.
willy-nilly. And,
obtuse.
yeah,
But
exactly, right?
Look at documentaries, and that's why sometimes I have an issue with documentaries, because if you think about it, that's an hour and a half of like you said, exact perfect information that the creator of the documentary wanted to line up with their
Yeah.
idea. So as compelling as a lot of documentaries are they actually factual? We don't know, because that guy just took everything that he could find to make his
Yeah,
point
where's the
from it.
opposite
That's
documentary
right.
of that?
That's right.
Everything has a bias. There's no bias-free anything. Unless you're looking at pure raw data, where you're looking at everything, there's a bias everywhere. Because even when you don't want to bring a bias to something, every single person feels the certain way about something based on how they grew up and based on their knowledge. So every single thing is skewed because everyone sees things differently.
Your
We could all look
explicit
at the
and
same
implicit
painting and
biases,
see
right?
something completely different
Yeah.
because of our bias, right? Like,
That's right.
it's wild.
Okay, you guys want to do some hypotheticals?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Well, okay. So first one is, if the purge existed,
You
would
got
you guys?
fun facts too?
we just go straight for the purge.
I don't have any fun facts right now, but I'll look them up. I got about
Okay.
like 4 or 5 little.
Okay, yeah,
scenarios.
okay, let's do it.
Okay, so if the purge existed, would you guys participate?
Well, everyone else.
How do you not participate?
Well, I mean, would you stay in your house or would you go out and fuck around?
But staying in the house just means now you're an easy target. You're trapped yourself. You're caged.
Maybe. Well, that's up to you guys to
Is there
decide.
anybody that I'd like to rid the world of?
I don't
Maybe
know.
one person. Haven't seen him in a couple of years.
Who?
but Steve McNabb.
Oh,
The only person.
Hey, be careful what you
That's
say.
our-
If that guy ever goes missing, they're gonna look for you.
Oh, you heard it first.
that's our old foreman.
He's a real foreman, yeah. He's a real piece of shit.
Oh dear.
Probably not. I'm too nice. I feel like too nice of a guy. I don't have that.
Yeah,
bad.
I just don't have that much hate
Yeah, I
in
don't have
my
that
heart
backbone
where I
in my
want to do
body
anything.
really anymore.
I mean, you can do other crime where you can go steal stuff and enrich yourself, but I mean, you're just opening yourself up to become a target for someone else.
Yeah, exactly. He's already stole
you're
it.
wrong.
Let's go steal it from him and
exactly,
kill him.
100%, right?
it.
Like that's the easiest way to do it. You let everyone else do the hard work, and then you just
Yeah, exactly.
take their
Come
shit
and
at the end of the
swoop
day.
it up.
I
Yeah.
would probably just try to steal from like large businesses.
Yeah.
But those are the companies that are gonna have fucking guards with guns and everything ready
Yeah,
to
well,
shoot
I'll be
your
wearing
ass.
a balaclava, and that will make me invisible.
Yeah, I got Zach one for his birthday, so for the winter season.
Would you participate?
You know what? No, probably. I to be brutally honest, I do not like blood or killing things. That just doesn't appeal to me really.
Yeah, but you
I
can
like,
do white collar crime.
who doesn't love a little white collar crime now? But you see, the thing is with white collar crime is that could be done legally.
That's true.
Yeah,
If
there
you're
you
smart
go.
enough, you can do
Yeah.
That's very
almost
true.
anything.
All
you
the
want.
legal loopholes, you know.
That's
like-
but it's legal.
yeah, exactly.
But why is it legal?
Okay, another one is this: if you could stop a specific crime forever, but you have to actually commit the crime first, which crime would it
Oh
be?
man, I had one in mind until you said you have to commit the crime.
Well, everybody had one in mind.
Tax evasion, because then that way the rich people would actually fucking have to pay their taxes and not be able to use all these loopholes to never have to pay for shit again. You know, like,
You just don't like Wesley Snipes.
what do you mean?
I'm just joking. He went for tax evasion, right?
Man,
Probably.
if you
Shakira's
audited every
doing
single
it.
celebrity and rich
Really?
person,
Yeah,
they
she
would
owes
probably all be able to
14
go for
million.
tax evasion, man.
In Spain.
I feel like all those fucking people owe money and they all tax evade.
That's why you gotta have a good accountant you trust.
Was it Ronaldo or Messi that was
Ronaldo.
Ronaldo was convicted for tax
Yeah,
evasion?
tax
yeah.
evasion. Yeah.
He's a weird looking guy.
Yeah, we were saying that last week. Was
Yeah,
it?
in the last podcast, Nico said he would let him clap his cheeks.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You don't like Ronaldo?
I think he's a weird looking individual.
Really?
Like
Oh, yeah.
just his face?
The way his face is built up is not. I like symmetry for the most part, and it's
Really?
just it looks like it was. I don't
Is
know.
he too manly for you?
I think it's the opposite.
Zach's too manly for him.
His six pack throws you off, eh?
Maybe. Okay, so what's the crime? That's a trick question. It's almost a trick question because you could say some bad ones, but you have to commit them, which most people aren't willing to do.
I don't know. Thievery, maybe.
Like, yeah, you're a victim. Of that,
I'm a victim of that. Yeah, I've been robbed, so I would do some robbing so that nobody would ever get robbed again.
Call you Robin
Straight
Hood.
up.
What about you?
I was thinking, you know what would be interesting is like if like say for example like drug trafficking or something like that, because what you could do is you can easily fix that through like legislation by just like, you know, legalizing it all, decriminalizing it all.
Yeah.
You know, so I'll do some drug trafficking for y'all.
There we go. Perfect. Make it legal after.
Yeah.
If you died and you could choose someone to haunt, who would you haunt?
You you know I'm haunting your ass.
I'm covering this place in salt and fucking ritual signs, and you ain't getting in
Like
here.
evil
Oh.
haunting or just messing with people?
What's
for
your
fun?
choice? You can either poltergeist it, or you could be a little bit more nefarious, whatever you feel like.
Yeah, you're
man.
not getting rid of me.
I'd probably just find like a creepy place just to haunt, just for the fun of it, just to watch people enter this creepy place
Yeah.
and then fuck with them just to see
Yeah,
them
I don't
running
think
out
I'd have
screaming.
I don't think I'd have a specific person that I would go after because I don't really have any.
But it'd be
enemies.
fun to haunt like a place, and they'd be like, "It's the Phantom of the Mall."
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's what you're known
yeah,
as.
exactly. Yeah, just like he was saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
the haunt West Edmonton Mall.
Yeah.
Or go fuck around
Or
in
like
the
a-
stores and
Or like a campground or something.
yeah, Camp Crystal Lake.
Okay, Franny wanted me to ask this one. It's a little bit gross, but that's just our
What
thing.
is this? Some fucking.
If you, I'm pretty sure this is a hypothetical Paul came up with, but Fran wanted me to ask it. If you went camping with a buddy and woke up with a condom in your ass, would you tell anybody?
How did it get there though?
Hey, that's you guys. You guys are the ones that woke up with it in your butt.
I'd tell my homies. I don't care. If it was non-consensual, I'd tell the homies so that they don't end up they don't end up
doesn't
going to
happen
sleep
to
and
them.
find a condom in their ass and they wake up.
Did you buy me a drink first? Like,
I was raped.
Okay, I'll go to some quick fun facts, and hopefully this doesn't get taken the wrong way, but since it was one of the topics, I think it would be cool if we could learn some 14 facts about Jews and Judaism that every person
Let's
should
hear
know.
it, man.
Let's go.
Number one, they run the world.
The Rothschilds.
I'm one of them.
Okay, Judaism is based on the Torah. The foundation of all Jewish beliefs, practices, and scholarship is the Torah, known as the 5 books of Moses. Okay?
The 5 books of Moses.
Yeah. Next comes the prophets and writings, Nevi'im and Ketuvim in Hebrew, and together they form the written Torah, aka the Hebrew Bible. These written books were given to us by God through his prophets, along with oral traditions that interpret and elucidate their sometimes cryptic teachings. These oral traditions were collected into what became the Midrash and Talmud. The written Torah cannot be fully understood without the oral Torah. So it's 2 books to go together. It's kind of like, isn't that kind of cool?
So you have to read this one to understand this one?
It's like the guide.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's dope. I didn't know that.
Jews, Israelites, and Hebrews are all the same people. Abraham, the father of the Jewish people, was called a Hebrew. His grandson Jacob was renamed Israel by God, and his children were known as the people of Israel. So there you go.
Who's your favorite Jewish celebrity or Jewish person, I guess? Anyone got any favorites?
Well, I just learned about Lex Friedman like 2 weeks ago, and I'm
Mel
know, but
Mel
he's
Gibson.
He's fuck, man. He's nice. He's fuck. He's no, he's like a engineering teacher at MIT. He's really big into robotics, but somehow he gets to hang out with these cool comedians and scientific people and interview them. Like
Well,
he was
you-
at Andrew Schultz's wedding.
You don't love Ben Shapiro?
Ben Shapiro. I take Ben Shapiro with a very good grain of salt because I think he does a lot of stuff to push people's buttons because he's trying to make money too.
Yeah.
But
I just love watching Ben Shapiro's debating skills. Like I don't
Oh, yeah,
I
he's-
don't care about the context. It's
No.
just watching him systematically destroy someone's
people.
argument with it's so satisfying.
Yeah.
However, my favorite Jewish person is probably a YouTuber called Xiaoma. He's Xiaoma NYC. He speaks many languages. What's that? Paul. What's that word? There's a word for this guy. So this guy speaks like 10 languages pretty fluently and like speaks more of other languages as well, but just not as fluent. And yeah, he just lives out in New York, and he just goes and interacts with all these communities because New York has all these little
Boroughs,
areas
there's
where like they
pockets of
speak
people.
these different languages, and he learns the language. He walks in and he just talks to locals and blows their minds, and that's probably my favorite. I love
I
watching
think
that
I've
guy.
seen
think I've
something
seen
like
that,
Speaks
yeah.
Mandarin,
really
Cantonese.
well. Really well.
Was
He
he a
speaks
white guy?
Mandarin,
Yeah, he's a white
Cantonese.
guy.
He speaks
I think I've
Spanish,
seen he'll go
French.
into a restaurant and order in perfect
Yes.
Mandarin. They'll be
Okay.
like,
Yeah.
I've seen
Okay.
that guy.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
guy's
And then they like
I
get
love
down
that
like in
guy.
the bodega, and he like I can't remember which language it was, but it was a language from Africa, and
Probably
and
Twi.
yeah,
Twi's
and
speaking,
he
yeah.
was like perfect, and the people were just like,
Yeah. Dude, that guy went
and then
down.
they're like, this is awesome.
He went down to Mexico because he speaks Spanish really well, and he learned Mayan, like ancient Mayan languages that are spoken by like
So
1,000 people or less, and he learns those. Like,
Really?
the guy is crazy.
Well,
And
that's
yeah,
how
he's
you keep
Jewish,
those
so he
languages
speaks
going.
he speaks Hebrew, I think, or Yiddish. And yeah, if you ever want to see some cool Jewish stuff, he recently went into like the super Orthodox Jewish part of New York, and he just interacted with those guys and he talks with them. So if you're ever interested, it's actually really cool.
I did enjoy watching his video. I remember he went to some place in, I don't know, China or Singapore or something. He went and ordered in English, and they just didn't even really look at him. And then all of a sudden he started talking in whatever language that he was there, and they're like,
And just
"Oh my
everyone's head
God."
just snaps.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man,
you're
they
just
come
like,
run
"What?"
over. They give him whatever. They're like his best friend. It's like, yeah, man, that was pretty
It's a
crazy.
connector, right? And it shows
Yeah.
that you care enough to like
Exactly.
get
Yeah.
to know their
Yeah.
culture and how they speak. Like that's it. Language is incredibly powerful.
Yeah,
Oh,
for sure.
He has a video where he like wears like a shirt that says something in Mandarin like that like tourists would wear. You know, if you don't speak Mandarin, it says
yeah.
like white boy or something on it. You know, and then he just walks around and listens for people talking about it, and then he confronts them in their language, and they're like. They just get so flustered. He
they
goes to
think
like a
you don't
nail
know,
salon
right?
and talking shit about him, and then he's like, he speaks to them in Cantonese or Chinese or whatever, and they're like, oh shit, when they've just been talking shit about him for 5 minutes, you know, like that kind of stuff. Just it's too funny. But yeah, any favorite Jewish people that you?
I can't really think off the top of my head, dude.
It's all
My
good.
favorite Jewish person is Mel Gibson. That's about it.
doubling down, eh?
Mel Gibson. The only reason why I know Mel Gibson is last son, Gibson. That's how I know a lot of Jews have the word son in their last name. Or Jerry Seinfeld. Pretty sure he's a Jew too, right? I'm 99% positive he's Jewish. 99% positive.
What about you?
This honestly, it's not a very good one, but it's just who I personally love is like Alana Glazer from Broad City. Like I just think she's a comedian from New York City, and she just like she owns her culture and her Jewishness, and she calls herself like a Jewish queen and stuff. And I just think she's dope.
all
Mel
good.
Gibson is not Jewish.
He's not Jewish?
And he's also been on record multiple times for being badly
Anti-Semitic. Yeah, that's why I thought he was joking. I didn't.
That's
think
why
he
I
was.
thought he was joking too. I was like, this is wrong, but it's funny.
That's the thing is the reason why
Passion
I
of the
remember
Cristo.
yes, exactly. The reason why I remember about him is because he went on TV and basically said the same thing that Kanye West said, that Jews run the world and